Flying is something that seems to divide a lot of people. Some people think it's the best way to get to and from somewhere quickly, and some people think there's nothing more terrifying than being so far off the ground. Whether you love it or hate it, flying is something that millions of people do every day, usually with no problem at all. Plane accidents are thankfully very rare, and the worst thing that most people ever experience when they fly is a bit of turbulence. However, sometimes things do go wrong aboard a plane, or pilots can experience something that can't quite be explained. Today, we present to you 6 of the most chilling flight recordings of all time, ranging from an encounter with a UFO to a horrifying act of terrorism. All of the quotes from pilots in this video have been taken from transcriptions of actual flight recordings, and where possible, we've included the audio from those events. Be warned that some of the subjects discussed in this video are distressing, so viewer discretion is advised. Here are 6 of the most chilling flight recordings of all time. The first entry on our list proves that planes may not be the only advanced technology flying through the skies. In February 2021, an American Airlines pilot on Flight 2292 from Cincinnati to Phoenix had an encounter with something that may not have been from this world. The pilot was flying over New Mexico when something strange appeared out of nowhere. The confused pilot sent a radio transmission about what he saw.
Have any targets up here? We just had something go right over the top of us that, I hate to say this, looked like a long cylindrical object. It almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing moving really fast. We just had something go right over the top of us.
This transmission was initially accidentally picked up by a blogger named Steve Douglas on his radio scanner, and was later confirmed by both American Airlines and the Federal Aviation Administration to be the real thing. However, neither could or would confirm what the UFO was. No further information about what the pilot may have seen has been released, but this isn't the first time that a pilot has been up close and personal with a UFO. And it certainly won't be the last. Either the US Air Force is testing something, or they're being tested by something. Another on our list that involves an unexplained mystery, the disappearance of Flight 19 still has people scratching their heads to this day. Flight 19 vanished inside the mysterious Bermuda Triangle in 1945. The flight was intended as a training mission involving 5 torpedo bombers who took off from the Naval Air Station at Fort Lauderdale. At first, things seemed to be going well. All of the pilots were experienced, and none more so than their leader, Lieutenant Charles C. Taylor. After completing the first part of the training mission, things started to go wrong though. In a transcript of the radio communication between Taylor and the other pilots, Taylor told them that he thought they might be lost. Taylor was then in contact with the senior flight instructor at Fort Lauderdale and told him, "Both my compasses are out and I'm trying to find Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm over land, but it's broken. I'm sure I'm in the Keys, but I don't know how far down and I don't know how to get to Fort Lauderdale." Taylor continued by explaining the technical problems he was having, telling the senior flight instructor at Fort Lauderdale that, "I'm sure now that neither one of my compasses is working." Chillingly, Taylor and his group never were able to regain their bearings. The last transmission was from Taylor, who urged the pilots to stick together until the final moment by saying, "All planes close up tight. We'll have to ditch unless landfall. When the first plane drops below 10 gallons, we all go down together." Then there was nothing but static, and Taylor and his pilots were never heard from again. We still don't fully have an explanation for why they were so lost, or where in the ocean they ended up. They seem to have all been swallowed up by the Bermuda Triangle. The next recording on our list comes from the black box of Air Canada Flight 621, which crashed on July 5, 1970. While all plane crashes are, of course, absolutely devastating, what makes this one even more heartbreaking is the fact that before the plane crashed, the 2 pilots, the captain and the first officer, were having a pleasant conversation discussing the beautiful Canadian scenery just before they began to land. First Officer: "Nice day." Captain: "Beautiful." First Officer: "That's where old lives there, I guess. What do they call it? High Park?" Captain: "Oh." First Officer: "Those apartments. See them? The high-rise there?" Captain: "Yes, it looks out over the... It's quite a good view out over the lake there." The plane then began landing procedures, but at around 60 feet above the runway, the plane's spoilers were deployed. This caused the plane to unexpectedly fall to the runway, damaging one of its engines and setting one of the plane's wings on fire. The first officer begins to apologize, and the captain says no words anyone flying an aircraft would ever want to hear. "We have lost our power." The pilots desperately tried to get the plane back in the air to try and land it properly, but then tragedy struck and the other engine exploded. This caused the plane to lose a wing, and all we are left with is these terrifying last words. Captain: "We've got an explosion." First Officer: "Oh look, we've got flame." Captain: "Oh gosh." Unknown: "We've lost a wing." Sadly, the plane then crashed to the ground, killing 100 passengers and 9 crew members. Another devastating recording from an aircraft. This one is so haunting because of how little of it we have. On May 7, 1964, a passenger named Francisco Gonzalez aboard Pacific Airlines Flight 773 told people that he was going to commit suicide. He did so aboard the plane, shooting both himself and the pilot and co-pilot. The only words we have about this incident came from the co-pilot. "I've been shot. We've been shot. Oh my God, help." They were painstakingly deciphered from a garbled recording from the Oakland Air Traffic Control Center. The plane crashed after both pilots were murdered, killing all 44 people on board. It is believed to be the first murder-suicide committed on an aircraft. This led to tighter regulation on aircraft, meaning that the door separating the passenger cabin from the crew compartment must be locked during flight in an attempt to prevent further tragedies such as this from ever occurring. One of the most shocking entries on our list is also one that lives on in infamy in the minds of many all across the world. United Airlines Flight 93 departed from New Jersey and was on its way to California on September 11, 2001. At the time Flight 93 was taking off, other attacks were already being made on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. The pilots received warnings about this before their plane departed. These warnings proved prophetic because at around 46 minutes into the flight, Flight 93 was taken over by 4 Al-Qaeda terrorists, one of 4 planes hijacked on the same tragic day. The leader of the terrorists, Ziad Jarrah, was a trained pilot, and he took control of the plane and turned it back towards the United States capital, Washington, D.C. In recordings from the flight, the pilots can be heard struggling with the terrorists, and there are also people pleading to not be hurt. They can be heard saying, "Please, please don't hurt me," and "I don't want to die." Jarrah, after taking control of the plane, activated the cockpit voice recorder, likely as a mistake, and broadcast the following message to Cleveland Center Air Traffic Control. "Ladies and gentlemen, hear the captain. Please sit down, keep remaining seating. We have a bomb on board, so sit." A similar message followed a short time later. Eventually, there was a passenger revolt against the terrorists, and the cockpit voice recorder picked up the sounds of a struggle and the terrorists reciting the takbir, the Arabic phrase meaning God is the greatest. Shortly after this, the plane nosedived into a field in Pennsylvania. Everyone on board died. The September 11th terrorist attacks changed the world of aviation. Many new safety measures were put in place aboard airplanes, and airports have also become places of much tighter security. Hopefully this means that the world will never have to experience something as horrifying as this ever again. And now let's end this list with something slightly more lighthearted. The story of US Airways Flight 1549 is one that starts off frightening, but thankfully has a much happier ending than most other incidents involving plane malfunctions. Most of us are probably familiar with the event known as the Miracle on the Hudson, but if you aren't, here's what happened. On the 15th of January 2009, an Airbus A320 lost all power when it hit a flock of birds on its way to North Carolina, and the pilots decided to turn back towards New York's LaGuardia Airport. This frightening information was relayed to New York TRACON by the pilots Chesley Sullenberger and Jeffrey Skiles. This is Cactus 1539. Hit birds, we lost thrust in both engines. We are turning back toward LaGuardia. Unfortunately, Sullenberger revealed that he was not sure if we can make any runway, and calmly stated, "We're gonna be in the Hudson." It was after this that the two pilots achieved the miraculous feat of ditching the plane in New York's Hudson River, with no lives lost at all. The whole thing is truly a testament to their amazing piloting skills. And so we come to the end of our list of some of the most chilling flight recordings in history. Let us know in the comments down below what your thoughts are about the entries on this list, and if you think we missed any important recordings. Hopefully you enjoyed this list. If you did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos just like this one.